Hello everyone, my name is Wiam and welcome to Season 2 of Core, the show that allows us to question our reality. For today's episode, we will examine proof of advanced ancient technology. Archaeologists from across the globe seem to have been fixated on the idea that we have evolved from more primal civilizations. They assume that humans are currently at the zenith of their technological and social advancements. In this video, I plan to question ancient history and let you draw your own conclusions about whether we were informed about our ancient past accurately. Or is there something more to the story? Before we get started, I quickly wanted to acknowledge that I have been researching this topic for over 10 years, and the information that you're about to see is guaranteed to make your jaw drop. I tried as much as I can to squeeze it into this video, however, it became apparent that that was not possible. So stay tuned for part 2 coming next week. Also, major shout out to the channels in the description below, as without them, the footage you're about to see might have not been possible. So please make sure to go check them out and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's get started. The history of mankind was thought to be as follows. About 195,000 years ago, we emerged onto the scene and into the Neolithic Stone Age. 50,000 years ago, humans inhabited Australia, and 12,000 years ago, the modern human finally reached the Americas. The Stone Age eventually comes to an end 6,000 years ago in Mesopotamia. After 2006, new discoveries emerged that baffled archaeologists and forced them to draw a new timeline for evolution of our species. Fossils found in Morocco pushed our species age to 300,000 years. New DNA evidence analyzed from Neanderthals shows that we split from our common ancestor as far back as 800,000 years ago. Not only that, but discoveries of whole new species like the Homo florensis and the Denisovans is proving that our origins as a species is much more complex than we have ever believed. According to our current academic understanding of history, civilization emerged 6,000 years ago in Mesopotamia by the Sumerians. This was followed by Egyptians, Babylonians, Greeks, Romans, Mongols, Chinese dynasties, the European Renaissance, the First Industrial Revolution, and leading to our current advancement in technology. Now let us dive into the distant past and examine ancient sites from around the world. To help us decipher the secrets that lie in plain sight, with the help of some amazing people like Egyptologist Sir Flinders Petrie from the 1800s, manufacturing engineer Christopher Dunn, stonemason Yusuf Iwan, and architect Randall Carlson. Let's start by examining machined surfaces. According to traditional Egyptologists, cutting stones was done using copper and bronze saws, pushed back and forth by a couple of guys using sand as an abrasive material to grind through the stone. This technique has been tried and tested and found effective. However, this technique is more of a grinding motion than a cutting motion, and it doesn't leave saw marks. If we examine some rocks found on the Giza Plateau, we would stumble upon some cut stones. These could easily be used to explain some of the traditional sawing techniques, but if we look more closely and analyze, we find some stone cuts that were started but not finished. Those begin to give us a clearer picture of the machines used to cut the stones. These pictures show clear evidence of a circular cutting tool. The same can be observed in Peru. These cuts cannot be done using a traditional saw. Also, notice straight saw marks on cut stones. Inside the Cairo Museum, there is a box that has power tool saw marks all over it. Although it might be slightly difficult to tell from the picture, you can see that there is a circular saw that is 6 foot in diameter. You can also see that the width of the blade changes. Imagine that the top of the box is where the blade would have cut from. Another example is shown at Abu Sir in Egypt, where we can see the top surface of a block being cut. The edge here is clearly rounded. This is estimated to have been created by large circular saws upwards of 9 feet in diameter. To create such saws denotes the use of powerful industrial processes, and such tools must have been powered by some mechanism, similar to how we power our circular saws today using electricity. This next example at Abu Rawash, also in Egypt, shows a concave machined surface. This is a very complex mechanical signature that was studied by Christopher Dunn in great detail in his book, Lost Technologies of Ancient Egypt. Another machined surface can be seen in the king's chamber, where machine marks are clearly visible. As a side note, the king's chamber is designed to resonate, as can be heard in this following footage. Another concave surface can be visible in Ishino-Hoden in Japan, where a 600-ton stone standing 23 feet high was discovered. This enormous rock can clearly be seen cut precisely at an angle, as well as showcasing different types of machinery being used. Another example of circular machine marks can be visible in none other than Baalbek, Lebanon. The second evidence we will examine today is core drills. When we examine ancient sites around the world, we see examples of holes of different sizes in the building stones and artifacts. Let's first examine this altar at Abu Ghurab in Egypt. It was clearly shaped using a tube drill, and you can see the rounded surfaces created by it. We also see core drill marks in South America, here shown in Coricancha, Peru. Another example of precise drilling is visible at Pumapunco in Bolivia. Furthermore, when we examine this core drill from Giza Plateau, we see clear evidence of a helical ridge. This threading is near identical to what we observe with high-tech milling machines that spin at high speed and create small ridges. At the Cairo Museum, we have the best evidence of this kind of machining tool, leaving circular marks in quartzite of both tiny and large sizes. Let's now examine the most intriguing factors of the ancient world, which is advanced manufacturing. When we take a look at the Serapeum located close to the Saqqara in Egypt, we find many boxes that are said to be bull tombs. These tombs, besides not containing any bull mummies, were found sitting in precise chambers inside the underground temple. When examining one of these boxes that was not lowered into its cell block, it becomes apparent that the finishing of its lid was completed, but the body of the so-called sarcophagus was still not polished. This gives us a hint that these boxes were completed underground. As clearly shown in the video, we can see that the guide is holding a flashlight, and there's no source of natural light in this underground facility. This poses a question: how did they finish these boxes in the absence of light, as torches would have caused oxygen to be consumed? Another fascinating note to make is that the sizes of the boxes are much larger than the entrance to this site, and thus the boxes had to be installed before the underground building was even built. The most astonishing of all is the advanced manufacturing processes used to create these boxes. As Christopher Dunn had documented in his book, think of it as a geometric reality. In order for the lid to be square with the two inside walls, the inside walls would have to be parallel to one another along the vertical axis. Moreover, the top side of the box would need to establish a plane that is square to the sides. That makes finishing the inside exponentially more difficult. He then goes to explain more about the mathematical precision needed to accomplish such feat, and continues to say, "We are looking at a higher civilization in prehistory than what is currently accepted. To me, the implications are staggering. This is why I believe that these artifacts that I have measured in Egypt are the smoking gun that proves without a shadow of a doubt that a higher civilization than what we have been taught existed in ancient Egypt. The evidence is cut into the stone." The next topic to examine is polished surfaces. Granite countertops found in your homes are polished industrially using mechanical devices. However, when we examine the boxes at the Serapeum, we notice that the polishing uses some form of liquid.
So the liquid leaks down here and then forms these lines with drops.
This liquid, however, is not a varnish nor a polish because these liquid marks are noticeably smoother than the surrounding material. According to archaeologists, this is not a process nor a chemical that we currently know of. We can also see the difference in surface smoothness between those two H blocks at Pumapunco, Bolivia, that show us how much detail the ancient cultures put into their monuments. This is again shown in Tanis, Egypt, where the unfinished sarcophagus lid is shown to be very rough compared to the base. When looking at more sophisticated statues found at the Cairo Museum, we can start to decipher the extreme detailed ability the ancient civilization had to smooth surfaces and later polish them, as reflected in this lion statue, which shows the polishing of uneven surfaces like the ribcage to enhance its look. If you look at this diorite pharaoh statue, we can see the polishing of fingernails and even armpit. Looking at the finished statues, you would think these stones are malleable and easy to work with, but diorite is harder to carve than granite, and you can clearly see how it looks in its unpolished raw format in the broken parts of the statue. The finishing is so good that you can see light being reflected off of it. So, Soul Seekers, what do you think? Make sure to leave your comments in the comment section below. I want to hear all about it. As always, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate your help and support in spreading this video. And see you next time. Make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and let's question reality together. Stay tuned for part 2 coming next week.